Today, I'm beating the Storm King with every new weapon. And after today's video, I think we'll all be saying that Epic needs to release the best type of enemies they possibly can, because I think all of our weapons are overpowered. And in fairness, I am using the 3 best possible combinations I thought of when it came to fighting the Storm King. I have the Shatterhorn dual daggers with zapping 4, damage 3, Stormbane 3 with durability 3. I have that exact combination on the Shatterhorn plasma pistols, and I also have that on the hammer. Now, as far as my pistols and my daggers go, they are fully legendary, so they do even more damage than what the hammer would. And if for some reason you didn't know, after rifting one of your weapons, they do become legendary after you do enough damage to enemies or structures, which is really cool. One of my favorite things about Expeditions is fighting the Titan, which is similar to the Brute, is that you could spam your secondary attack at their feet and you'll never go through them, which is pretty cool to see that it also works here against this Brute. The only downside is that this Brute does do a lot of damage if he's able to hit you, but using that dodge feature as well as spamming your secondary attack does really good. I'm really hoping they add the stamina rune from Expeditions over to Odyssey, because if they give me a second stamina bar, these daggers are going to be overpowered. I fought a Brute with the pistols before in a video, but I never did it with a legendary pair. So I found this Frostlands Brute, and it is insane how much work they put in. Every single time that I shoot at this Brute, even without aiming down sight, I'm absolutely shredding him every second. And just like that, without ever overheating, I defeated him in less than 20 seconds. And before we take on the Storm King, we had to visit Raven with the hammer, and I don't think I'm going to use this weapon very much. Getting up close with powerful enemies while using the hammer and no mobility is just not a good idea. So I switched back over to the daggers, used my secondary attack, and absolutely shredded him. We're fighting the Storm King on expert mode in one of my main worlds, and we're going to start off with the hammer because this might be the weapon that people are using the least, but I think this is one of my favorite weapons, and you'll see why. As you know, the jump attack is always a critical hit, and it almost 2 hits every single respawner that you see. Not only that, but the jump attack does some sort of splash damage, and you could also use the hammer to hit enemies behind the respawners. Having this legendary would be incredible because I would absolutely 2-shot every respawner right before really any of the enemies came out. The other thing that I love is how wide the range is of attack, which is definitely farther than any of the other weapons that can hit multiple enemies. But not only that, having zapping on this is just slamming every single enemy that I'm close to. The only defect about using it is if you get hit with any of their rocks, you do get stuck, and with the hammer, there's not much mobility with it, so you're just kind of stuck in place taking a ton of damage, so lifesteal might make more sense on this. On Expeditions, my favorite weapon is the dagger, but one thing that I dislike about them in Odyssey is that when you do your secondary attack, you actually go through the structure, which is much different than when you play Expeditions. But as far as this weapon goes, it is really dominant. You're able to absolutely melt any opponent, including that crawler right there. With a regular secondary attack and a melee attack, it just hits too quick for any enemy to stand in your way. I mean, do we really have to talk about the plasma pistols? They somewhat nerfed the plasma pistols, so I definitely prefer using the daggers, especially considering that you could see how quickly I could take out both respawners. I could also take out enemies pretty quickly with it as well, but definitely the fastest way to take out any enemy in the game, or even the Storm King, is just using these plasma blasters. Especially if you have them as legendary, they do way too much damage. Almost one-hitting enemies with the hammer is also a lot of fun. I think having double or triple pistols would be the best combination because you would never have to worry about it overheating, but just taking out the Storm King without even using your aim down sight is so quick. All of the enemies get melted, all of the weak points get absolutely destroyed, which makes this fight the easiest that it's probably ever been. Like right here, I could not aim down sight and shoot at both of the respawners, and I almost destroy them both before the enemies come out, and even when they do, I take them out within actual seconds. I'm honestly trying to cheese less when I'm using Odyssey game modes or weapons inside of this mode to make the game a little bit more fun and challenging, but using these pistols, even without a second pair of them to worry about your overheating, you really don't have to worry about anything. I could use the daggers and take out the enemies and the respawners very quickly, and then go right back to using those pistols, and again, I never have to worry about much. I don't have to aim down sight, and I have enough with the overheating to just take out a lot of his health bar without worrying about anything. You guys didn't just see that. One last clip with my plasma pistols, and that should be it for the Storm King here. I took a little bit of damage. A lot of his attacks were invisible because of a bug, but for the most part, that was one of the easier fights I've ever had to do. I think mixing in the thermal detonator trick with using double or triple plasma pistols would make the Storm King the easiest fight of all time. And I don't mean to flex that this was easy. I just really think that it's all in the weapons. They're just not very balanced right now and are a little bit too overpowered, and I hope that for our next update, Epic has that figured out, because these just can't stay this strong if the enemies coming aren't that tough. Now, something that worries me is the spires coming into Odyssey. Now, the reason why I say this is that while the weapons seem pretty overpowered in the mode right now, the spires are a whole different animal inside of Expeditions. It seems pretty easy for us even on expert mode because the classes are pretty overpowered, but I think it's confirmed that we're not getting superhero powers once this update happens. I think they mentioned that's coming at a later date, which should mean that we're only going to have our weapons against this spire. And if it's as difficult as what we could see right now in game, we are really going to be in for some trouble. I hope that they add a bunch of the runes over to help us out a little bit, because if they don't, I don't think that just damage on our weapons is going to be enough to defeat the spire, especially solo on expert mode. Let me know what you guys think about the new weapons that we have in Odyssey and how you think they're going to hold up against the new enemies and the spires when they release mid-July. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, guys, this was Crafty, and I'm out. Peace. Help me reach 50,000 subscribers by pressing that sub button in the top right. And if you guys haven't already, check out that video in the top left. YouTube thinks that you'll like it a lot. Peace.